ballpark.
Youth sports at the YMCA's focus on teamwork, discipline, and building confidence. Our experienced coaches can create a positive and supportive environment where your kids can grow, stay active, and develop a love for sports. Sports like basketball, volleyball, swimming, gymnastics, and even elite skills training. Join the fun and register. Give your kids a chance to be a part of something special. Visit fcymca.org to learn all about youth sports at the Y.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
Learn the secrets to bring your A game on the Edwin Watts Golf Hour.
Yeah, well, you really crushed that ball off the tee, I'll tell you what.
Learn the latest on new equipment from all the major manufacturers on the Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Saturday morning at 10 on 1010XL.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. Free agency has officially begun, and 1010XL is here to keep you updated with all the latest news on who the Jags will add. The Jags acquired 9 players from the free agency market as things opened up. The focus on adding depth and size to the offensive line was evident as 3 of the 9 players signed line up in the trenches. Center Robert Hainsey, offensive tackle Chuma Edoga, and left guard Patrick McCarry are the newest features to the Wall of Duval. Keeping on the offensive side of the ball, the Jags also added depth to the quarterback room by signing quarterback Nick Mullins. The Jags also added a few more weapons to the offensive line with the signings of wide receiver Diami Brown and tight ends Johnny Munt and Tyler Long. On the defensive side, the Jags added help to their secondary with the signings of cornerback Jordan Lewis and safety Eric Murray. It's 66 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555, Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our 3 sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
This is Helmets and Heels
on 1010XL.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
Welcome into one of my favorite weeks of the entire year. The Players' Championship week is upon us, and for all of you NFL fans, of course, free agency and the legal tampering window began yesterday right at noon. During our show, we only got to bring you the news of 1 player being added to the Jaguars roster, assuming everything goes through tomorrow, and that was Jordan Lewis. Primetime, though, got the haul of all hauls. They got the other 8. Well, they got 6 or 7 players.
We got 1 player and no Twitter.
And we also had no Twitter, which is exactly right. You don't realize your dependence upon that app until it goes down. But the Jaguars did add, as we told you yesterday, nickel corner Jordan Lewis, and then also a backup quarterback and Vikings quarterback, really backup, Nick Mullins. Rams and Vikings former tight end Johnny Munt. Texans safety Eric Murray, Rams tight end Hunter Long, Commanders wide receiver Diami Brown, Ravens guard Patrick McCarry, Cowboys offensive tackle Chuma Edoga, and center Robert Hainsey from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So in summation, here's what it told me, ladies. The Jaguars are not using the 5th overall pick on an offensive lineman.
Oh, interesting.
That's what I took away by adding these 3 different offensive linemen through free agency. And they already have, assuming that they like their tackles, they already have 2 starting caliber tackles. And then the other takeaway for me is Tony Boselli is heavily involved in this roster construction because of the fact that they got 3 different offensive linemen.
That is the reason, Lauren, that I still believe offensive line is at play at number 5 overall. Because if Tony Boselli is to be involved, and considering that at least one of those 3 signings I view as depth along that offensive line, the idea of, hey...
The tackle, I'm assuming?
Correct, yes. The idea of, hey, it's not just your starting 5 that you need to improve, it's the entire room. That says to me, I still believe, and I was on the Irish NFL show last night, and I said to them, I was like, I still 1,000% believe the Jaguars could take 2 offensive linemen in their first 5 picks. I came away from...
and I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
I just don't think number 5 overall.
I think they gave themselves flexibility yesterday. Mm-hmm. They gave themselves an opportunity to choose the best player available, which is the goal in free agency, especially when you have so many holes on the roster, which I don't even know if the Jaguars had holes as much as, and I know this has been exhausted at nauseum, both on our air as well as some national programs. The Jags have a lot of green dot players right now, not the green dot you wear on the helmet if you're getting the play signals and play calls in.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of those.
But the green dot as in a solid B, borderline C+ player. Now, a pink dot is a young, unproven player. A yellow dot is an aging, health concern player. So, and then the blue dot is what you want. You want those blue chip players. The Jaguars don't have a ton of blue chip players, but they have a lot of green right now. And
do you think they added blue dot?
No, and I don't think you have to. And that was the argument I was just making with Mike Dempsey during crosstalk. Like I don't think there were that many blue chip players available in free agency, and there normally should not, because those players don't reach free agency. Yep. The team that drafts them ensures the right to keep them employed under their jurisdiction. And I do, by the way, find that so ironic that everyone gets in this frenzy leading up to free agency thinking we're going to add all these super talented players. And it's like, but the best guys don't ever become free agents unless they're much older. His argument with Saquon, and that's a big point that I was just making to Mike. Like, his point with Saquon Barkley last year, which what I didn't get to say on the air a couple minutes ago was, have you seen HBO Hard Knocks, which is not going to have an in-season version this year? Because quite frankly, Joe Shane was made a mockery of because he let Saquon Barkley walk at, age 25, 26? And Javon Holland, I would argue, is perhaps the belle of the ball in terms of young players who have only played 4 to 5 years in the National Football League and were available this cycle. And yes, if you want to split hairs and you want to say the Jags should have taken on that deal, okay. I agree with you because I think Eric Murray is a question mark. I think he's of the crop that the Jaguars signed yesterday. He's the biggest question mark that I have just because of some of the conversations I've had with people in Houston. With that said, Anthony Campanile was one of Javon Holland's coaches. Mm-hmm. And so I would like to think he has some sort of say. He was in the photos the Jaguars posted yesterday of the behind the scenes. And so if he wanted Javon Holland, they probably could have gone out and gotten Javon Holland.
Well, and Taylor, to me, they weren't spending the massive amounts of money that we've seen some other teams. Ideal. So we're not going to sink a ton of money into players that we don't rate to be guys that are going to be all pros or pro bowlers on our team for the next few years.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I look at what the Vikings did, for example, with a Ryan Kelly, a Will Freeze, a Jonathan Allen, and a Javon Hargrave, and that's massive. That's 10 times better to me. So there were names out there that I do think you could have made an immediate impact that would change things. And to me,
I wanted Grady Jarrett, by the way.
I would
have liked him.
To me, when I'm looking, and this, I almost am going opposite of Mia of something she said yesterday after the moves. And to me, I feel like everything that's been done in when getting rid of trading Christian Kirk and getting rid of Evan Ingram, and then now these kind of mediocre mid names that to me are more so Band-Aids a little bit. I don't think any of these guys are any solution for more than a couple years. I think even all of the offensive linemen are pieces that they've played all over the line. So you're not talking about getting a guy who's really, really good at one position. You're talking about getting guys who can be swing tackles or who have played all three interior positions and things like that, which is great to have on your roster, especially when the offensive line has been what it is. But to me, it kind of feels like James Gladstone looked at this roster, and this is the part where I'm saying it's a little bit opposite because Mia yesterday said she feels like maybe they think this roster is close, and that's why, to me, I feel like they think it's maybe a little farther than what they want it to be, and that's why they're like, let's get some of these guys. Let's get a ton of names. Let's get 9, 10, 11 names, sign these guys, put some Band-Aids over some things, really address it in the draft. Start getting some guys that we know that in the next year or two we can develop into players for beyond that. And then this time next year, hopefully you're down to just needing 2, 3 little pieces and you can make those big splashes that are going to change it and be able to compete at a high level that year. Not saying James Gladstone thinks this team can't compete, because I think in the division right now it looks like you are able to. But to me it just feels like if you feel like you're a true competitor, then you make you do that 1 or 2 big splash play and fill the couple holes or few holes that you really need, and you think you can make immediate impact and you're ready to compete. To me, throwing a bunch of darts at a dartboard and having a bunch of guys that play a ton of different positions and guys with a ton of question marks when it comes to the safety too, when there were guys out there that you knew could come in and make an immediate impact, to me makes it feel like he thinks it's a little bit farther away than maybe some people do.
I think we also had no idea what to expect, and a lot of us were trying to figure out, okay, we believe this about Liam Cohen. We believe this about James Gladstone. We're not really sure, other than the fact that he's a Hall of Fame offensive lineman, what direction Tony Baselli wants of this franchise. And we know physical. We know fast and physical, right? But we really didn't know what they thought of the roster. And that's why I brought up Walker Little, several weeks ago. We don't know how they feel about him. I was just using a player as an example because it was someone who Trent Baalke had just given an extension to. Yeah. What I think we learned yesterday, Mia, is they didn't like this roster.
Yeah, that's right.
That is a very obvious statement based off of bringing in 9 guys so far, and there could be more on the way.
And there is obviously several links to familiarity between both Liam Cohen and James Gladstone. So to me, that is them also saying that, this roster was not good. We did not like a lot of the pieces in this roster. We also feel like there's a lot of holes that we need to fill. They created more holes by letting a couple people go, but to me, that is a telltale that they just didn't think this roster was nearly as close as what maybe some people were talking about offseason, even some of the things we said on this show during the offseason. And so I do think that once you start bringing in the familiar names, which there was several of these who have been around James Gladstone or have been around Liam Cohen, those are guys that they just feel they can come in and get something out of. Is that something what you want to see in 5 years? Probably not, but
they're more intangibly rich than the players who departed.
I will respond by pairing both a submission on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures with a tweet of one Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated. Let's begin with the tweet from Breer. You tell people for 2 months that the free agent class sucks, and they still panic when their team doesn't sign everyone on day one.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And as 910
Unless you're the Patriots.
Yes, well, they also had, more money than I think every billionaire in the world combined, at least in terms of NFL free agency dollars. And as 910 puts it, it is also possible that James Gladstone and company think they can nail the draft. And that is,
I think that's a massive 100%.
And that's why, you bring up the Vikings deal with Will Freeze, which, yes, I understand. He was one of the biggest names, quote unquote, on the market, which, depends on your evaluation of the upside there. And I thought, good player. But a 5-year deal, you are now either locked into this guy.
Well, they are. They think he can be that guy.
Right.
They think they're also can win now. And I think that James Gladstone and the Jags think they're a little farther away, so they do have to build. If you're building through the draft, usually you're building to do this in 2-3 years, not this year. The Vikings want to do it right now.
Right. Or is it, again, that he believes he's going to hit on a guy who's going to be a plug-and-play starter at guard, who's going to push one of these veteran cheap signings, relatively speaking, compared to that 5-year deal that he just inked yesterday? That's what I think the case is. Yeah. And again, that's where I go back to the top. I believe they are still going to draft at least 2 offensive linemen.
And to that point, I still think I agree with you in the sense of I would not be surprised if they still went offensive lineman at 5. Just because to me, I don't think any of these moves completely move the needle for anything. To me, I feel like it's guys that if they need them, they can be out there. But if you can hit on a future offensive lineman at 5, I think they would still do it.
Correct.
See, the only way I think that's possible is if they're drafting a left tackle. That's the only way in my mind you'd use the 5th overall pick. I don't think you're drafting a center or a guard at 5th overall. And I guess you could make the argument if you think the guard is eventually going to be a tackle and can start immediately at guard and then switch to tackle. Sure, I suppose. But I think now they've invested enough resources that, yes, they'll still 100% draft offensive linemen. But with that 5th overall pick, I would be shocked now after free agency has begun if it's an O.
From 536, maybe the play is use the 5 and package to move back into the 1st. Look, if the Jets hadn't signed Justin Fields yesterday, yes, 10 times over, I think that is the play. I think that still could be the play, just because even if the 2 quarterbacks are not highly sought after in this year's NFL draft, I do think that because there's only a first-round grade on somewhere between 10 to 15 players, there may be a team that says, hey, we have the ammo and we want to go up and assure ourselves that guy. And if you're okay with moving back a couple spots, acquiring, which, by the way, for as much as we have not only crucified this free agency crop, but also that the 10 to 15 first-round grades, and then there's not as many first-rounders as, say, last year, there is a reality there that also the 2nd to 5th round class, in terms of the day 2, day 3 guys, it is expected to be stronger because this is the final COVID year.
Right.
And so if you're James Gladstone and you say, okay, if I could pick up an extra 2nd or an extra 3rd, well, now I'm looking at potentially getting 3 or 4 starters as opposed to maybe 2 starters, 2 developmental guys who don't start year 1, but they are part of a rotation and then the next year they start. And so maybe that is the play. And certainly our friend Jordan Rodriguez of The Athletic, she said it to me both on the air and off the air at the Combine. Because when she did the NFL Daily interview with Greg Rosenthal and James, Gladstone said to her, hey, we do like to move back.
Yeah.
We do like to move back. We like to move around the board. So
and 5's probably a good spot to be able to do that. And I will argue with myself in the sense of
Nothing like a good Taylor argument with herself.
I do this constantly. I talk to myself a lot in the car. But in the sense of, like I said, I do still think that maybe they don't like this roster, and they did feel like there was a lot of things that they needed to fix in this roster, and maybe they think they're a little farther than some other people. But in that same light, what exactly they said was going to happen. They said
Correct.
they wanted to build through the draft, so there shouldn't be any surprises in that light. And I also think we've seen free agencies here where the few years ago when you did hit on Darius Williams and that whole free agency class, it was a lot of people were like, okay, like we didn't really know a whole ton about Darius Williams. You knew he was opposite Jalen, and that was kind of the chatter, but it was like, okay, well, Jalen took everything away, so really are you getting a good, and that ended up being a good free agency class. People killed them for for trading for Christian or getting Christian Kirk and paying Christian Kirk, and then that ended up being an actual decent pick. And then last year, all the names with an Eric Armstead, and when you're talking about Mitch Morse, these were more recognizable names, and that didn't work out.
Right.
So
Ronald
I do
Darby
think,
is no
and a
longer
Darby,
here. Yeah.
and free agency, I think, is like that, and that's why it's interesting when I point out the Vikings one. The Vikings nailed almost every single free agency pick last year. It looks like another one. Does that pan out? We don't know, because free agency, it is kind of up in the air. So if I'm battling myself, then that would be my main argument, is it doesn't always, these big names don't always pan out when they're on new teams.
I feel like I have to trust their decisions as of now, because they have nothing to show me that they can't do it, because none of them have ever done this before in these current roles. So for the here and now, I'm going to trust it. I'd love the idea of a Ted McMillan at 5 and pair Brian Thomas Jr. with De'Ami Brown and have a ton of speed there, outside guys for Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if Gabe Davis is going to be considered and viewed as a starting receiver. We'll see. Andre Sisco, gone. Luke Farrell, gone. But obviously, Farrell, a 3-year deal, $20 million,
That was wild.
$20 million deal. That one surprised me. And then Sisco, a 1-year deal.
I want to pull up I think my friend Phil tweeted out the exact number of like what it was for Luke Farrell's deal versus those two together.
Sure.
I know it was somewhere in the ballpark of like, so here it is. So Farrell got a 3-year, $20 million deal
With the 49ers.
Munt is 2 years, $5.5 million for the total of 2 years, and then Hunter Long is another $6 million or something. Yeah, so $11 million for 2 years for two blocking inline guys, for two Luke Farrells, as opposed to $20 million over 3 years for the same guy, for one of them.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
And also, I think that is
But Sisco didn't surprise me that he landed somewhere
no,
else.
and I think let me circle back to Cisco, but Johnny Munt is an interesting one for me, because so many folks who have covered both the Minnesota Vikings and the Sean McVay Rams were so quick to hop online yesterday and immediately say, my goodness, as long as the Sean McVay tree has branches, this man will always be employed. He will always have a home, which I found absolutely hilarious, but again, speaks to and gives us an idea of the type of offense that Liam Cohen plans on running. As for Cisco, it's really... It breaks my heart, because that is a guy who the 1-year prove-it deal is his best bet right now. And if you had told me that a year ago, if you had told me that Luke Farrell, imagine this for a second, RJ. let's...
Oh, no, we don't
have time. Okay, never mind. We don't have time.
We have Mike Giardi on the other side.
I do want you to imagine, if I had told you 1 year ago that Luke Farrell would get 3 years, a $20 million deal, and Andre Sisco had to settle for a 1-year prove-it deal, what would you say?
You would have said that this defense was bad, and somehow, some way, Farrell was a big part of the offense. That part wasn't true. All right, we will check in with Mike Giardi on the other side. He, of course, covers the Patriots for the Boston Sports Journal, but also the NFL at large. You are listening to Helmets and Heels live here from the Players' Championship on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
There's a reason why people love to listen to play-by-play on the radio.
This is unbelievable what we're witnessing. I'm serious.
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
At Duck Duck Air Conditioning, we've got a crazy offer just for you. We're giving away free AC inspection to our wonderful customers who call and schedule now. No strings attached, zero cost for you. One of our expert techs will come look at your AC unit and make recommendations to ensure it is running at peak performance. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. That's 904-862-6769. Or visit online at duckduckac.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
Tired of supermarket produce that's traveled thousands of miles before you get it? Treat your family to farm-fresh, Florida-grown fruits and veggies delivered right to your home with Doorbell Farms. No supply chain issues or questionable origins, just seasonal produce handpicked from local farmers. Subscribe monthly and enjoy the best local farm produce delivered right to you. Sign up now at doorbellfarms.com, connecting real people to real family farms. Doorbellfarms.com.
Need the perfect spot to unwind with friends, family, or coworkers? Dart Bar on King Street. Darts, pool, air hockey, foosball, and more. Dart Bar has the games to keep the fun rolling. With 20 taps, 200 plus cans, and plenty of non-alcoholic options, Dart Bar has something for everyone. Plus, they host community events and leagues and can accommodate everything from company happy hours to milestone birthdays. Dart Bar is your go-to place for fun, drinks, and great times, no matter the occasion.
There's a lot on the line in a divorce. Your home, savings, maybe even your kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions it can take, you need a partner you can count on. I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. Don't let divorce take more than it has to.
Offices in Jacksonville. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Rick Julius, licensed in Pennsylvania only. Online at CordellCordell.com.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and you got really cool things going on right now because there's new product coming in the showroom. Tell everybody about the Aprilia Demo Days.
March 11th and 12th. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to have the Aprilia Demo Truck. We caught them on the way back from Daytona Bike Week. They're going to be there. Come ready to ride.
Tell everybody real quick about Aprilia.
They are a bad Italian motorcycle. Nobody's ever ridden an Italian anything and said that wasn't fun.
Check it out. Cycles of Jacksonville. All the details on their Facebook page.
My name is Joanne. I'm 75 years old, and I have lost 35 pounds on Awaken 180 weight loss. I was pre-diabetic. I was ready to go on cholesterol medication. My blood pressure was up even on medication. Now I have no need for cholesterol medication. My blood sugar is fine, and I actually am cutting down on my blood pressure medicine. I have knee replacements and hip replacements, and I had difficulty walking, and now I can walk without any problem. I feel lighter. I feel more energetic. It is a lifestyle that will help you to lose weight without medication.
Thanks, Joanne. Matt Hayes here. Stories like Joanne's are the reason I continue to share the Awaken 180 message. The results speak for themselves, and I'm confident you'll have the same success if you let them show you how. Do what Joanne did, what I did, and what over 24,000 others have done, and choose the solution for weight loss. Online at awaken180weightloss.com.
New year, new club. This is Joe C., and I'm proud to be a member of Southampton. And with the popularity of golf, getting a tee time is tough. But with membership comes member privileges. Enjoy clubhouse dining, expanded practice area, focusing on all parts of your game. And right now, you can join with an annual commitment and get a $1,000 discount, plus $500 of Pro Shop credit. All the details are online at golfsouthampton.com or call 287-PLAY and make a tee time today at the Golf Club of Southampton.
It's about the hunt.
Captain Kevin Favor here with Captain Kirk and Jeff Loggeman. We take you from the water to the woods.
On the Nimnicht Outdoors Show. Presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning.
Let's go to the woods, y'all.
Saturday mornings from 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
Hi, I'm Jeff Breyer, president of Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring.
And I'm Zach Breyer. When my dad started in business in 1990, I wasn't even born yet.
That's true. And after 35 years and nearly 20,000 satisfied customers, we literally have a showroom in every neighborhood.
So whether you need more outdoor living space with a glass or screen enclosure, or you're looking to transform your home with new flooring, we've got you covered.
Visit our websites, or better yet, do yourself a favor and stop by one of our showrooms on Phillips Highway to experience the lifetime difference and receive 20% off your purchase now through March.
Attention men and women, if you would like to get your hair back, then you need to listen to some of our clients. John in Orange Park.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Call IHRS now at 904-777-IHRS. Find out how to grow your hair back with a free hair and scalp examination. Mike from Bay Meadows.
I finally found the most experienced company who could restore my hair. Now I have hair where I had none before.
Results guaranteed. Diane from Ponte Vedra.
Now I have what lotions couldn't give me.
thick, beautiful hair.
Find out why you're losing your hair and how to grow your hair back. Call 904-777-IHRS for a limited time free hair and scalp examination.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS. Thank you, IHRS.
Thanks, IHRS, for giving me my hair back.
Hurry and receive a free hair and scalp examination and get 2 weeks of laser treatments for free. Call IHRS at 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Hairforme.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
We talked about this yesterday, ladies. As much as I love the name legal tampering window, can we start calling it the legal negotiating window? Is that allowed? Because tampering in the NBA, this idea of you're not allowed to do it, but we're currently allowed to do it during this 40. I digress. To continue our conversation surrounding NFL free agency, always a pleasure to say hello to Mike Giardi. Mike, of course, part of the Boston Sports Journal. You can also catch him on the All 32 podcast with another friend of the program in Will Parkinson. Mike, thanks so much for hopping on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's begin a little bit locally here in Jacksonville. Would love, of course, to get your take on the team that you primarily cover, the New England Patriots, and the moves they made in free agency yesterday. But let's begin with the hometown team. Your assessment of a team like the Jaguars, the juncture they're currently at, and the decision to perhaps sign free agents that raise the floor but aren't necessarily splash signings.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what this free agency has become in recent years. Most of the best players just don't get out there. It's usually like the older guys, the guys that have some injury or off-field concerns, and then occasionally you get like a Milton Williams type who, because Philadelphia is so stacked, they say, yeah, we really like the player, but we're not going to pay him that kind of money when we have someone coming up the pipeline who may be as good as him in a year or two. So I think that's sort of what it's become, and I think it's sort of a smart pivot for a team that I think, look, you guys watch it weekly. I think the roster is a little bit suspect. I think some of the locker room issues were, prevalent as the year went on. So I think kind of high character guys that do raise your floor, and then you got to hope that the quarterback turns back into the guy that you hope he's going to be, and that Liam Cohen's the right guy, and all of a sudden you're back in the right direction.
When we talk about some of the moves they just made, there were several offensive linemen, and they all have moved around the offensive line a ton, played multiple positions, which I think was kind of the selling point for them, being able to have guys that can play all three interior positions, some of them even being able to play left tackle and being all over the line. But to me, it does seem like maybe it's a little bit more of a Band-Aid to get you through the next year or two rather than a full-on solution. So do you think for the Jaguars with that fifth pick, they could still potentially go offensive line, or do you think because of those moves they kind of shifted and should go elsewhere?
I think it's an interesting question because I think when you look at the draft, this maybe is not the best year to be looking for an offensive lineman in the top 10, depending on how you feel about Will Campbell and his shorter arms and his crazy short wingspan, if you will. I think he would be since the combine or the last 25 years or something, that would be the shortest wingspan of a tackle taken in the top 10 ever. So, you have to be really comfortable that he does everything else so well that he can mitigate the lack of arm length and the lack of wingspan. I think the wingspan is 77 inches, which is it's crazy. The guard from North Carolina, who's 5'10", 270 pounds, has a 6-inch longer wingspan. It just kind of shows you just the difference there. So I think they're still probably at a position where it might just be best available, right? Your roster's not so good that you can just say, no, let's zero in on this one spot, or let's force a pick. If, hey, you look at Will Campbell and you say he's the 15th best player, but we have a need, so we're going to take him. I don't know that the roster is at that point where they should be doing that. We'll see in 6 weeks if that's how they decide to operate. But to me, it's still sort of who's the best player, who can be the guy that you're looking at when you pick number 5, who's going to be all-pro, Pro Bowl caliber type player for the next 8-10 years. That's, I think, how you have to look at it when you're in the situation that Jacksonville is.
Mike, as far as outside of Jacksonville in NFL circles, how is it viewed now, the Tony Baselli, Liam Cohen, James Gladstone trio in trifecta?
Yeah, interesting, right? So Liam has never stayed in one place very long, but the last couple of years in particular, sort of a fast rise and someone who's considered a really smart offensive mind, and I think that's sort of the direction the organization needed to stay in with the commitment to Trevor and what they're hoping to get out of Trevor. And as I think Liam has said, basically, like, it's my job to get Trevor back to where he is, and they felt like that was the best choice and obviously gave him a lot of power. Gladstone's an interesting guy because young, but like you talk to people around the league, a lot of respect for him, his rise, his intelligence. So, and Tony obviously has the tie to the franchise, probably, the greatest player in franchise history. So I think it's a good little marriage if they can, if they can all get on the same page. Sometimes it's hiring the coach and then the GM and having Tony involved. It's like who's answering to where and, who's got the real power here. But assuming that they can make that relationship work, I like it. I like the melding of the minds and some of the young minds that are involved.
Building off that first, Mike Giardi of the Boston Sports Journal and the All 32 podcast joining us here on Helmets and Heels. I'm curious your take on this because I've had this conversation now with a couple different national outlets, plenty of folks up at the Scouting Combine last week. The idea of Rams East, it's something we've joked about here on the Superstation. The idea of the Jaguars are literally trying to emulate what was built out there on the West Coast back in 2017 when Sean McVay arrived, albeit with a 39-year-old head coach and a 34-year-old general manager. And it's so fascinating to me, and so I'm curious what you heard at the Combine last week as well. Some people look at this and say, this is the way of the future. Good job, Jags, going young, going the progressive offensive thought. And then the other half say, this is way too many new faces. There's not enough experience, and this is going to blow up. You tell me your assessment of how the rest of the league looks at the Rams model and maybe the Jaguars trying to emulate that.
Well, I definitely think there's a lot of respect for how the Rams have gone about business. But then you start to look at it and say, well, is Sean McVay just a different kind of dude? Did they find the next best young coach and is going to be, assuming he wants to continue coaching, because I know he flirted with TV for a little bit there, but if he wants to do this for the next 10, 15 years, is he going to constantly be in that conversation of being one of the best 3 or 4 coaches in the league? And I find it interesting, too, in talking to people like, you get the Raiders who end up, they wanted Ben Johnson, they pivot, and they end up going with 70-something-year-old Pete Carroll. Like the Patriots come to Mike Vrabel, who's, on his second job and sort of more of an old school kind of coach, like different directions, I think, from a lot of different organizations this year. But I think what Jacksonville and talking to people is sort of like, they're taking a big swing, right? Like there's risk to this, obviously, first-time head coach, first-time GM, but feeling like if they hit, if they're as confident as they seem to be publicly about what they did and what you've heard privately about the way they feel about these two guys in particular, like if they hit, then you're in the same situation where you've now all of a sudden got someone who you're going to be looking at as your head coach for the next 10, 12, 15 years. And, it's hard to find that kind of stability in the league. And generally when you do, it means you're winning year over year over year. And that's obviously what everyone aspires to.
Yeah, Mike, when we're talking about, let's zoom out a little bit and look at the AFC South as a whole, because when the Tennessee Titans, that question with what they do at the top, do they roll with Will Levis? Are we still going to see a change there? But their quarterback room with Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, and then the Colts adding Daniel Jones, so Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, C.J. Stroud, who a couple years ago looked like he was going to be really, really good. This last year maybe fell off a little bit. What are your thoughts as a whole on the division and what this could potentially look like coming up the next couple years?
There's opportunity is what I think. I mean, I still think Houston's the best team in the division, but now you look at it and say, they trade Laramie Tunsil, and you're already immediately getting well, this is kind of why they did it, because when they talked about leadership, they never talked about Laramie, and now he's a little older, and they're on the hook for a lot of money, and the fact that they were able to get something of value for him makes a lot of sense. They just traded their guard. They released their other guard. Like, their offensive line was a major reason why I think CJ struggled. That and the combination of Bobby Slowick not advancing as an offensive coordinator, like red-hot candidate a year ago, and then this year it was like he kind of deserves to be fired, and that's exactly what they did. So they have to rebuild that, and that's not easy to do. I'm very curious about the plan that Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryans have there, because I mean, as you see, the prices for some of these left tackles in free agency, guys that are average to below average, has been insane. And now they're all gone, basically, except for Cam Robinson, who you guys know well. And I don't think Cam Robinson's someone who deserves that kind of money either. So, like, they've got their work cut out for him. Anthony Richardson, is he going to get it or not? Like, that's people's jobs in Indianapolis are riding on that, right? And then Tennessee, to me, Tennessee finally appears to be, and I pause because I've seen them pivot before midstream in the offseason, but you're not good. Your roster's a mess. It made no sense. You invest money here in Ridley and Cushenberry and some of these people, but yet you don't have the other pieces young coming up. And it's like, you know what, dude? Don't half-ass it. Carve those guys out, start to build through the draft, build with low to mid-level free agents, and get yourself in a place where all of a sudden, hey, we're 8-9 2 years from now. And now you start to think playoffs are a real option. They keep trying to cut corners. And that's why they're, once again, their coach is on the hot seat and they have a new general manager.
Mike, as a whole, which team do you think did the best yesterday in terms of the free agency frenzy?
That's a good one. I like, in the last 24 hours, I like what Chicago and Minnesota have done. Look, Minnesota's like, we need to be better on the defensive front. They go out and they do that. They retain Aaron Jones. Looks like J.J. McCarthy's probably got the job, but, who knows? Aaron Rodgers still kicking around there. Maybe there's another veteran option they think about. But I kind of just like the approach, keeping Byron Murphy, their excellent corner. Those are all smart plays to me. And then when you look at Chicago, it started with, before free agency, trading for Tooney, trading for Jonah Jackson. Then you signed Drew Dahlman to play in the middle of those two guys, and it's like, what was the huge issue for them? Their interior offensive line. Well, they just went out and tried to fix it in one fell swoop, which says they have a plan to turn around and sign Grady Jarrett, to aid the interior of their defense. It's like we're building from the inside out, or we're building to protect our quarterback. And, it's funny, Caleb has all the talent in the world. Not a big guy. He's not Bryce Young, but, he's 6'1", right? So they look at it, let's do what Carolina did for Young. Let's build from the inside out for the offensive line, give him some clear throwing lanes, and let him work his magic. And you saw second half of last year, all of a sudden Bryce Young kind of looked like a viable quarterback again. So I kind of just like the approach there and sort of the philosophy of how they're building.
You can find Mike on X, which I think it's working today, right, Mike? I think X/Twitter.
It actually wasn't working.
Oh, it wasn't? No way. I didn't even realize it was down again. Okay, if it's up, if it's working, you can find Mike at Mike Giardi. That's Giardi. And, of course, everything over at the Boston Sports Journal. Before we let you go, Mike, let's bring it to the team that you primarily cover, the New England Patriots, because I do think, yes, because of the Tennessee tie, but ultimately because Mike Vrabel was hired in the same cycle as Liam Cohen. I think as much as, yes, the two are apples and oranges, they're still fruit. And they're still in that same coaching carousel together. And so I think they will ultimately be compared. What do you make of the shopping spree New England went on, and ultimately where Mike Vrabel is about to lead that team up in New England?
They came in, the new leadership group, and they looked at the roster and said, the roster stinks. And I could have told them that. I think anybody who's watched them the last couple of years could have told them that if they were being honest. And I think they clearly wanted to take some big swings. Chris Godwin was right at the top of their list. Couldn't get him to leave Tampa, but Milton Williams sitting there with Carolina looking like he's going to get a deal done. All of a sudden it's like, no, we'll go higher. We'll do more. And it's risky because he's never been a full-time player, but he's trending in the right direction. They had a ton of money. It made a lot of sense. It's a risk, but it's a risk well worth taking, I think, for where their roster was. And then, sort of filling in the rest of the day. And, again, you look at Carlton Davis, good football player. Maybe they overpaid. So what? You had the money. Robert Blaine, real good linebacker, a little bit older. Did they overpay? Yeah, they did. But guess what? Good football player. So I just kind of look at it like all of a sudden they added 8 or 9 guys that not only going to make the roster, but makes the roster better. And whether, 2 or 3 years we look at those deals and say, ooh, that was a mistake, I don't think you can do that. I think they needed to go in a better direction. They didn't spend all their money. They added a bunch of high character guys, which, considering where this locker room's been the last couple of years, I think was absolutely necessary. So it's a good step in the right direction. They still need a left tackle. They still need a number one receiver and probably a number two receiver. You don't find those guys. There's not too many of those guys kicking around, but a good start. And at least, most of the money was spent on defense. So at least now they're looking at a defense that had a massive drop-off, top 10 2 years ago to bottom 3 this year. Now it's if they're healthy, it's a top 12 defense again. And top 12 defense, all of a sudden, 4 wins become 7. If guys stay healthy, 4 wins becomes 8. I don't know, but that's a nice step for them based on how it's been the last couple of years.
Overpaying in free agency? We've never heard that one before here in Jacksonville,
I know,
especially.
Isn't it funny? Like we talk about the money, but it's like the Patriots had $127 million in cap space.
Who cares? Spend it.
Just pay it. You just got to pay it.
You don't get
That's
the
what
brownie
happens.
points for keeping it. It doesn't.
No, like what am I going to applaud Robert Kraft as he gets to save some of his money? The guy's a billionaire. He'll be fine.
You're not going to get a trophy for keeping all that money and trying to, get the award for being the best thrift shopper when it comes to free agency. Mike Giardi, thanks so much for hopping on with us. We always appreciate you stopping by Helmets and Heels.
Anytime.
Again, Mike Giardi on X. That is Giardi, so long as X, Twitter are still working. And, of course, you also get him on the All 32 podcast with our friend Will Parkinson, too.
68 degrees here on this Tuesday afternoon. Slight breeze. Absolutely gorgeous day here at the Players' Championship. Come say hello to us in the Palm Valley Village. We are just across the pond, not the Atlantic Ocean, but an actual pond from the TPC clubhouse.
Came a long way today.
Yeah, that's right. So come say hello. I will give you some Players' Championship fun facts on the other side. That's right. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Making spring a Jacksonville thing.
What a week! Get live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates.
Enhanced by
Dermagnify, medical, surgical, and cosmetic dermatology, San Jose Collision, and Doorbell Farms Produce Delivery.
Reclaim a pain-free life with Rebound Rehab. If you've been injured or simply feeling the effects of an active life, you can rely on Rebound Rehabilitation to get you back in the game. Sitting on the sidelines isn't any fun. Trust Rebound Rehab's team of trained physical therapists to get you back up to speed and feeling full again. Now more convenient than ever. 11 locations to serve you, including new offices in Riverside across from St. Vincent's, Point Meadows, and Middleburg. Just log on to reboundrehab.com to see all they've got to offer.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scotty Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
Florida homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contract protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Spend $6,000 and get up to $600 off. $15,000 up to $2,000 off. $20,000 up to $3,000 off. This deal ends March 31st. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, buddy, you look worried.
Worried? I'm apoplectic!
You're apo what now?
I'm freaking out, Jason. Stupid water heater crapped out, so I haven't showered since Thursday. I start smelling a little funky, blow my big corporate job interview tomorrow. I'll end up settling for some dead-end career selling spatulas on the internet.
Dude, stay cool.
There's nothing cool about a cold shower, Jason. I mean, I know how that sounds, but
Bueller Air and Plumbing can get a new water heater installed today. The day you call. You could be smelling fresh again by dinner time.
Wait, you can do that?
Put on these sunglasses.
Whoa.
Is that cooler? Oh, yeah. Well, life moves pretty fast. If you spend much more time smelling like this, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
Your hole-in-one for men's health is Ackerman Urology. With offices in Mandarin, Middleburg, World Golf Village, and the beaches, Ackerman will get you on par for any prostate conditions and sexual vitality. Visit AckermanUrology.com.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
Poker players, the Run Good Poker Series is coming to Best Bet Jacksonville from April 24th to May 4th with 10 poker events, including the $1,200 main event, hosting a $300,000 guaranteed prize pool, and event number 1, a $400 no-limit hold'em tourney with a $200,000 guarantee. The action is non-stop. One in, win your seat through satellite starting April 4th at Best Bet Jacksonville. For all the Run Good Series structures and details, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700, offices Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
Hey, I'm Tony from Tony D's Pizza. People ask me all day long, is it the water that makes the difference? Well, yes and no. Even water can't make a good pizza. It's the ingredients, too. The best tomatoes, the best flour, and the best cheese. Oh, and a lot of love. Tony D's New York Pizza, Bay Meadows and 295.
With so many competitive pest services in town, you might wonder why Kingfish Pest Control's business is booming while similar companies seem to be struggling. It all comes down to service, affordability, and effectiveness. Kingfish Pest Control is a local family-owned company who delivers on their promises to effectively control pests like ants, spiders, roaches, termites, mosquitoes, and more. Your home is their priority, so call today and discover why your neighbors and your buddy Hayes Carlion trust Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jaguars.
Need protection? Call Craig and Christine Kaprosky at Goosehead Insurance. The Kaproskys are a husband-wife team committed to finding you the right coverage at the right price in just a few short minutes. For home, auto, flood, or specialty insurance, Craig and Christine Kaprosky are the answer. Craig.Kaprosky at Goosehead.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Play some Jordan Davis today because, of course, Jordan Davis will be headlining tonight's Military Appreciation Concert. The festivities here at the Players Championship get underway around 4:30, honoring our military, which is such an important thing to do. We have to always say thank you to those who are willing to sacrifice their lives for our freedom, and so you will enjoy some Jordan Davis jams coming up right after that Military Appreciation ceremony. All right, some fun facts I promised y'all from the Players Championship. Did you know that the land for the entire stadium course that you're on now was purchased for $1?
Oh, yes, I did. And as a matter of fact, that dollar is actually hanging up in the clubhouse here at TPC Sawgrass.
Yes,
$1.
Yep, $1. Then PGA Tour Commissioner Dean Beeman in 1978 purchased this whole land for $1. And then they began the Players Championship in 1982. The reason that there's the GOAT logo, which you can only access in the clubhouse, the reason for that is because part of the way that they cleared the land was bringing in goats.
Oh.
Which is super smart. It's a
very smart,
very environmentally efficient way to clear land, and so that's why you'll see.
And the goats get to eat?
Yep, the goats get to eat some of the
I thought it
grass
was
around.
a tiger hat. Like the
No.
goat.
Oh, really?
I really
You
thought
didn't know it was a goat?
Which I can understand.
Well, like the goat tiger.
Right.
Like that's what I thought
the
it was
goat.
like.
I can understand that. Tiger, of course, now has his own line of clothing. He broke away from Nike after, I want to say the partnership was like 30, it might have even been more than that.
Yeah.
I looked it up the other day. It was a long time. Okay, so the reason that it is the stadium course, it was the first course, I should say, that used grassy berms as viewing. And the reason is because Dean Beeman, who I mentioned earlier that bought the land for $1, was only 5'7", and he was tired of not being able to see the golf action. So he decided to create that, especially now very famous
feeling.
hill. Yeah, at 17. And his wife, Alice, Pete Dye's wife, Alice, I should say, she's the one who came up with the island green, the iconic island green.
That's amazing.
Which I love. The very first year in 1974, okay, so this wasn't at the stadium course here, but Jack Nicklaus won the very first Players Championship in 1974. The first place prize money was $50,000.
Still a lot of money.
Sure, the entire
I'd
purse
take it.
for the players absolutely was $250,000. This year, first place prize money, $4.5 million.
Oh,
and the entire purse, $25 million.
I thought it was up to 6. That's why I held up the 6 to the iPad on.
This is the place Jags fans turn to every day for news, analysis, and inside stuff. 1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town, setting the standard in our hometown. Quality service, the best around. Coolidge is the cat that cares about your heating and about your air. Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval Sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval Sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It's the Gator Podcast Channel with Frank Frangie and me, Dan Hicken, on all things Gators. Hacker and Denny Thompson have Gator Bites, and you can find them wherever you find podcasts or at 1010XL.com. Presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
It's March Madness, and your office needs a champion. Advanced Business Solutions teams up with Xerox to bring you copiers that never miss a shot. Fast, reliable, and ready to handle the pressure. Make the winning play for your business. Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions, where your business goes for the win. Locally and veteran-owned.
Print documents and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
PRP treatment is kind of the thing these days, and in many cases, it eliminates the need for surgery. This is Sheridan Tootin, and my experience with PRP from Southeast Orthopedic Specialists has been nothing short of great. I'm really feeling much better now. Ask your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist doctor about PRP treatment.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here. In the past 10 years, the weight loss industry has seen it all. New medications, fad diets, sculpting, and still, Awaken 180 continues to stand alone as the proven solution for weight loss online at awaken180weightloss.com.
Hi, it's Rick Ballou. I hope you'll join me and some former NFL players for an incredible event at the end of March, the Lone Warrior Foundation 2025 Champions of Hope Charity Golf and Tennis Challenge. March 31st at Marsh Landing will support single-parent families in their fight against cancer. An opportunity to win sensational prizes, but more importantly, we will bring meaningful hope and support to the lives of families affected. To sign up, go to LoneWarriorFoundation.com. That's LoneWarriorFoundation.com.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just a job, but an experience, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
The experts at AMCO have been fixing cars for almost 60 years. Over that time, they've gotten more complex than ever. That's why our techs undergo rigorous training and certifications, so they can fix anything, including the most complicated repairs that come with some of the latest technologies. After 60 years, there's nothing we haven't seen or fixed. It's how we know cars inside and out.
Money tight? We can finance almost anybody. Find the AMCO transmissions nearest you at amcojacksonville.com.
What defines a hero? Dedication, loyalty, courage. Every day at AMCO, we serve heroes. For over 60 years, we've repaired and maintained the most critical public service vehicles. From complex transmissions to simple brake jobs with flexible financing and the extra safety precautions we need. The heroes we serve don't all wear uniforms. They're people like you. At AMCO, we're proud to serve all of you. AA MCO.
Family owned and operated in Jacksonville, Orange Park, St. Augustine, and St. Mary's, Georgia.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror? Fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at dermagnify.com. dermagnify.com.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist Local Sports Update. The Jaguars added some speed, size, and depth into their secondary through free agency with the new additions of safety Eric Murray and cornerback Jordan Lewis. Murray was drafted by the Chiefs in 2016 and most recently played with the Texans, while Lewis most recently played with the Cowboys. The Gators finished the 2024-2025 basketball season as one of the best teams in Gator history to take the court. With their first game set for this Friday in the SEC tournament, head coach Todd Golden spoke on a memorable season.
We need great attitudes, great work ethics, most importantly, guys that want to be Florida Gators. Micro level, I feel good across the board that everybody in our program right now feels that way. On a macro level, I think you can see that with the way we play for each other. And to me, that's why we were a team that, analytically was predicted to be like a 30th team this year. By the end of the year, we're considered one of the top 2 or 3 teams in America through the regular season.
It's 70 degrees at 12:55. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I love a first cast when the water's glass and the line starts to run. But that first sip of a cold beer when the working week's done. I love
a little more Jordan Davis for you on this absolutely gorgeous Tuesday. The Military Appreciation Ceremony and concert come up a little bit later today. The festivities kick off around 4:30. We do understand that there was some technical difficulties in our last segment, so if you missed some of our fun facts, don't worry. They're not going anywhere.
I did want to, of course, now I laugh because I was saying it into the ether of nothingness. Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, did meet with reporters here at TPC Sawgrass this morning. I'm curious to get y'all's take on this. The PGA Tour will start testing pace of play policy on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Okay.
And they will start penalizing players for violations.
I like that they're going to start it sooner rather than later. I like that they're not going to start it on the PGA Tour yet because I do think that they need to work through some of the issues, just like what we see with Major League Baseball. They started in
You can't just throw it right out there and be like, okay, go.
Right, but like the pitch clock we've seen with the jumbo shrimp longer than we had seen it in Major League Baseball, and so I think that's smart.
And the ABS system in baseball this year,
exactly.
too.
And I love the idea of speeding some of these guys up a little bit. I'm not asking for a 15-second swing clock, but I do think that there are certain guys that take so long that it ends up hurting the sport a little bit.
And what is it, a stroke?
Yeah, it's a stroke.
Okay.
It's a stroke penalty. But what's also interesting, and again, this is going to start on the developmental tours, but they will actually publicly release pace of play statistics. So if you are an offender, Patrick Cantline, I'm looking at you, they will publicly put out there, hey, you took this many minutes, this many seconds on the tee box on certain holes comparatively to your peers. And I don't want to say I'm encouraging public shaming, but what I am encouraging is transparency across the board.
Well, and here's where I find it interesting is think about, let's say, I referenced Adam Scott earlier, right, when he won in 2004. And I spent a lot of time that week following him because I don't know if y'all know, Adam Scott is a very attractive, at least when he was 23, very attractive Australian guy. And so it was, and plus he's a really good golfer. He was an up-and-comer back then. But so when he gets to 18, his approach shot he puts in the water. This is the whole tournament on the line. Padraig Harrington had just taken the lead or was like neck and neck with Adam Scott. And he hits it in the water, and so he has to collect himself. If there's a clock going when you're also trying to handle all of that.
Rushing all of that,
That can be certainly something that's very difficult. So I think it would be more fascinating talking about certainly Saturday, Sunday, and especially in the afternoon Sunday.
So there have been two players who have come to the podium so far here at the Media Center at TPC Sawgrass, and both of them have said they are here for the transparency. They are here for better pace of play rules.
So they're not the slow skis.
Justin
They're
Thomas,
like, let's do it.
2021 Players Champion Justin Thomas, and then Colin Morikawa, who of course finished second last week at the API in Bay Hill in Orlando. But both of them made it very clear that they like the idea of releasing the names of the slowest players as well as the data. This is from Morikawa. I think the names and the data should be released. Release the papers. Release the records. I don't know why you wouldn't want it to be released. I think after talking to some guys, I think you just have to start stroking guys, give actual penalties, whether it could be strokes or even FedEx Cup points, which that's an interesting take. What I've learned is that monetary fines are useless. We make so much money, and some guys, frankly, could care less. I don't know how much the fines are, but whatever X amount they are, I think they care more about playing good golf and making sure they make the playoffs. That is where it hits hard.
Yeah, I think that's a good point because when you're talking about the fining, I mean, it's the same as the NFL. Most of the times when a player's just getting fined, they're like, okay, but if it's you're backing your team up 15 yards or whatever the case may be, that matters more to them than, okay, you're getting 10 grand, whatever the amount is. But it will be interesting to see how they navigate it all, and just because, I mean, do they like blow a whistle and
the massive horn goes off?
I mean, is there a beep that goes off in baseball?
I would imagine with golf etiquette, it's more that they have an official that would come up to them once they finish playing through that hole. I mean, I don't know for sure. I think where this bothers people, and certainly these guys the most, is you're not at the top of the leaderboard and you're spending 2 minutes looking over a putt, and yet, it's, yes, in theory, you can make more money if you make the putt, because certainly the higher you are on the leaderboard, the better for financial purposes and your FedEx Cup points. But if you're not going to win the golf tournament and you're standing over that putt for 2 minutes, that's where it really gets annoying.
So JT, very transparent this morning. Justin Thomas saying, I know I'm on the slow side of players. It bothers me, but I've talked to many officials about it. I want to know why I'm slow, because obviously the first thing that any slower player thinks is that they are not slow, which is interesting because I don't really think of JT as one of the slower players on the tour. But, I mean,
I'm sure they get all those numbers too, though, so he probably does see. And that's the thing about releasing it. It'll help anyways.
It'll
because
open
these players,
your eyes.
Yeah, maybe some players don't realize they're playing as slow as they are. And if you're getting that number of breakdowns of like, okay, here's what it took on each of these holes, maybe that'll just open their eyes a little bit to being able to be like, oh, I do need to speed it up. Or maybe it's certain clubs they're using or whatever that they're taking longer, and they'll be able to kind of figure it out in that sense.
For me in football, I don't know that you can analyze a team unless you literally watch every single snap that they play every single week, right? which is why I appreciate the national guys, but I don't think they can be quite as dialed into certain, especially as the local people, because the Jaguars media is watching every single snap, right? Same with, the Patriots. We just talked to Mike Giardi in the last segment, or 2 segments ago, last hour. With golf, I think you'd have to follow the groupings went Thursday, Friday, and then the pairings Saturday, Sunday. I think you'd have to follow them around to really gauge how slow or quick they play.
Yes, I agree. And we have been following the golf as it began its Florida swing a few weeks ago, of course, with an eye here on the Players' Championship here at TPC Sawgrass this week. We're not going to make picks just yet today, although
not yet.
I do want to know.
But we also are not allowed to pick Scotty Scheffler once again.
We're not allowed to pick Scotty Scheffler, although certainly a three-peat would be an incredible feat, given that no one had ever won back-to-back Players' Championships, and here he is on the precipice of doing it 3 straight times. I do want to note, and again, we'll make picks tomorrow, I have a trend that I like to follow, and that is whoever plays well at the Arnold Palmer Invitational but does not win, usually a lock to, at the very least, finish top 5.
So are you liking Colin Morikawa?
I like Colin Morikawa. Now, my only concern there...
So now I'm going to make Mia go last.
Correct. My only concern, because my concern is the fade on day 4, in the final day. Like, that's my concern with him, is that he faded. Historically speaking, I mean, I can go back to, why am I blanking on his name now? It was the year that, the guy who, this sounds really bad, the guy who has the girlfriend who was like 30 years younger than him and caddies for him. Why am I blanking on his name? He finished T2. It would have been 2 years ago, 3. Either way, I've picked him. I've picked Shane Lowry. Like, historically speaking, if someone finishes 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and they have a strong finish at the API, that's usually who I'm going to look to potentially win the Players' Championship. And so that's why I do look at Colin Morikawa, and I say, I know you faltered on the final day of play, but at the same time, you were leading the tournament for a while there.
Yeah, I'm not sure which.
Why am I blanking? I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Let me pull it up.
Lee Westwood?
Yes,
Okay.
Lee Westwood. There it is. Yes, indeed.
Right. What did you Google? Golfer with young girlfriend that can.
Golfer whose caddy is his girlfriend.
Yes, exactly. There we go.
I Google as few words as possible in order to get the results as fast as possible. All right, let's get it now to this week's Heels Highlights.
Now, Heels Highlights. Unbelievable! On 1010XL.
God knows. I am reincarnated. I was stargazing. Life goes on. I need her, my babies.
Iowa women's basketball gets robbed by Ohio State in the Big Ten tournament, but man Sida Falter has the dog in her.
Now in the hands of Fearbot, the pink, the slip, the quick ball movement of Falter.
PCA's second long ball of the game is a grand slam.
Front foot back.
PCA to center. Rodriguez to the wall. It's good!
Let's go.
Grand slam. King of the Cactus League, Pete Crow Armstrong. 2 for 2, 2 homers, 5 runs batted in. It's 7-4 Cubs.
Ricky Fowler owned the Island Green in 2015.
This is right of the hole. Oh, no. This is dangerous. Okay.
It's good now, Roger. It's within 4 or 5 feet of the hole. People are going crazy. And that, too, does it for Ricky Fowler. Ricky Fowler owns the Island Green and the 2015 Players' Championship.
Squabble up.
All right, I'm going to take y'all behind the scenes. Anytime that we have our Heels Highlights and our good friend and Heeligan, Jim, can immediately pick out whose is whose, I get an email.
Did he already email you?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, wow.
It'll come post-show, and it'll say, I knew everyone's highlights right away. I tried to go a little different with the Ricky Fowler Players Championship, but Mia went Iowa women's basketball, Taylor went Cubs, and so therefore he's just going to know
be very
automatically.
predictable.
I'm sorry, Jim.
One day maybe we trick him, and I say, Lauren, you pick this Cubs highlight this week.
But yeah, also I'll start, since we're here at the Players Championship in Ponte Vedra on this gorgeous afternoon, with Ricky Fowler in 2015. What was cool about that Players is, obviously Ricky Fowler's, a fan favorite. And so 16, 17, and 18 is where they did the playoff holes, and he went into the playoff with Kevin Kisner and Sergio Garcia. Sergio Garcia has played the Players' Championship more times than anybody else at this point in time, or now even. And they play 16, tied, 17, tied, 18, and then Sergio bogeys, so he falls off. So now you're going to the fourth playoff hole between Kisner and Ricky Fowler, and they have to play 17. They ended up starting with 17 the second go-round. They would have done 17, 18, 16 if they had to go through all of them. But as you just heard, Ricky Fowler hits it to within 4 feet, 8 inches of the hole on 17, birdies it for the 5th time out of 6 tries that week. And so Ricky Fowler went on to win. And the story really that came out of that was what his girlfriend was wearing. Oh. Because she had on like this cute top, I'll say, but then like these jean shorts that were, the top was a little revealing. That's why I wasn't sure how to say it. But then these like jean shorts that were super short. And so that was a huge piece of conversation, especially on Helmets and Heels when we argued back then over whether that was appropriate or not.
I also have already mentioned someone and addressed them as they have a younger girlfriend. So I think you're all right in the same segment to say maybe it was a little bit revealing.
Girlfriend talk show.
It just wasn't what you normally see a golfer's girlfriend or wife wear, but in the end, Ricky Fowler did not marry her. Ended up marrying a track star. So that wasn't the now wife of Ricky Fowler. Yeah, he of course is somebody that...
He was like, those shorts are too short.
You brought me shame. No, he's somebody that's fun to watch on the golf course. And I think that's what the sport of golf really has needed, that infusion of less focus on the etiquette and the quiet and everything. That's important. But also have some fun. And so certainly the documentary of the golfers has helped. And then I think YouTube has certainly helped as well.
Yeah, it's funny because I just had a memory, like your Facebook memories pop up. And so 5 years ago today was my first Helmets and Heels out here. And so that popped up, but I had a quote from our show on it. And on this show, I guess at one point you said something about you like the Ricky Fowler grouping. And I thought you said grooming. And so I was like, you like his grooming? And you were like, no.
The grouping.
How long was his hair at that point?
It was still long Fowler
I was going to say, was it approaching mullet status?
No, I think it was right before mullet status.
People have told my husband Brian that he reminds them of Ricky Fowler when Ricky had the longer hair. But people have also said Trevor Lawrence, and he's like 5'11", not 6'6". So people are always crazy.
Ricky is on site this week, not only playing, but he was on the Up and Adams show, which is also live here this week. I've made some calls. I know a couple of you Heeligans on the YouTube chat line are asking if we've put in a request. The request has been made.
For Kay Adams or Ricky Fowler?
No, well said. For both. Because I know some previous champions are going to join the various 1010XL programs here at the Palm Valley Village throughout the course of the week. But yes, the request has been made. So we'll see if we could get Kay or maybe Gronk, who's wandering around here at TPC Sawgrass as well.
That would be a hilarious interview. All right, Mia, Iowa women's basketball lost in the Big Ten championship.
Lost in the quarterfinals. Okay. From a fan perspective, I will tell you, and this is independent of Iowa, I think any basketball fan would agree with this statement. A game should not come down to, especially a back-and-forth affair like Iowa-Ohio State was on Friday night, it should not come down to free throws. The whistle should be swallowed on both ends, because the idea of, all right, well, it's a tie game, or at that point Iowa was up 1.
Yeah, let them play.
10 seconds to go. Let them play. They did not. Cody McMahon draws the foul. She hits 2 free throws. Iowa did have a pseudo look on the other end of the floor, and then after they reviewed the clock, they actually had 2 looks at it with 0.7 seconds. They got a second chance opportunity, and Hannah Stolke did bank it off the rim, so there was a chance there. But again, for me, this is NBA, college, women's, men's, it doesn't matter. Like, the idea of a game coming down to free throws, yes, they matter. But, like, come on, don't let the officials be the ones who ultimately have to
At least
decide.
it didn't come down to a whistle.
Right, exactly.
A coin toss.
A coin toss, well, which I do have a finding on that, by the way. But, yeah, so Iowa fell, but Sid Falter, who has been one of the more underrated Iowa players over the last decade or so, was lights out from 3, and just the emotion. You could feel it in that highlight call. And, look, I love Cody McMahon. I think she's going to be a great WNBA player one day, but I think the headline coming out of that game wasn't even the fact that her free throws sealed the quote-unquote comeback victory, but in the regular season finale for Maryland, for Ohio State, in which they lost on a buzzer beater to Maryland, Cody McMahon was captured on the live broadcast, giving the nice double bird to the Maryland fans and the Maryland players. And so the screenshot of that then made the rounds after they beat Iowa, and McMahon gets on the mic for the post-game interview and basically says, like, they're trash, like, they're not classy, blah, 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 blah. And now that I've riled up all the Ohio State fans, it's going to be an exciting NCAA tournament coming up next week.
The Ohio State fans are fine. They just won the national championship.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
They're doing okay.
Yeah, and then Pete Crow Armstrong,
Yes.
Taylor, is he your favorite player right now on the Cubs? Second favorite?
Definitely at the top for me right now. We were just talking about this on air off air a little bit ago, but Cubs their season starts in a week because they're playing in Japan. So they have they have a 6 a.m., 6:20 a.m. game as they play in Japan to kick off the MLB season. So they'll play those 2 games. Then they have 5 more days of spring training, and then the season starts for everybody. But PCA has been insane, and he started towards the end of last season. He's always been phenomenal when it comes to fielding and when it comes to stealing bases. He's super fast, and so that's always been a thing. But the hitting was a little bit of a problem early on in the season and even in the minors for a bit. But he started heating up late last year, and it's continued so far during spring training. So we hopefully through the season it continues. But he's batting like .520 right now, has 10 RBIs, 3 home runs, like 4 stolen bases. So he's just playing lights out, and he's so fast. It's insane to watch him. He makes the fielders panic. So you see it all the time where he'll steal second, and they're trying to rush a throw, and then it ends up going over the second baseman or shortstops, whoever runs the second, over their head, and then he ends up getting home, third sometimes, most of the time, honestly, home because he's so fast. But it just makes me very excited for baseball.
In related news, I may have to become a Cubs fan because rest in peace, New York Yankees 2025 season. Garrett Cole will have Tommy John surgery, and the season's over. And Coach Campo's over there, and he's going to hate that I'm saying it. But season's over for me.
So I sent a thing to Dan Hicken last night because when the Garrett Cole thing came out, I saw this tweet, and it was a breakdown of saying 40 starting pitchers have thrown 100-plus pitches over 98 miles per hour since 2020. Of those 40, 25 of them, 63% have had Tommy John surgery, and 6 of them have had multiple Tommy John surgeries.
Yeah, it's something that if you listen to the Frangie show, Frank has talked about for years now and has gone on multiple rants about how they cannot have that sustained velocity and stay healthy.
Yeah.
Like the stats are literally proving that they can't, that the mechanics that they're using to get the 100 mile per hour, like you said, 98 miles plus per hour, so many times, even though they're pitching fewer innings, it's still that torque, whatever it is on that elbow, is something that it cannot be sustained.
The other side of the coin, which we will get to the coin story here in a second, but the other side of the coin of that, and that's how I view Tommy John at this point, it's become a rite of passage. And at this point in time, if you get to the majors and you haven't had it yet, the expectation is, well, you should probably just get it out of the way. Which, I'm not a doctor, but I'm not going to subscribe to the school of thought of, well, you just got to have this surgery and miss a year and a half, and then you'll just be fine, and then you'll be able to throw it even faster. Like that, I don't view that as a prerequisite to being a elite pitcher.
Yeah, and the moment that you see elbow discomfort, you pretty much know that player is going to probably have surgery. And again, it's just, that's not something that Major League Baseball should want, obviously. Like, you've got to back it down a little. Like, if 95 miles per hour is the sweet spot where they're not getting injured, and I don't have the statistics, obviously, to prove that exact miles per hour by any means, but you've got to figure out a way to where you're not losing these guys for that long. And like you said, Taylor, 6 of them having multiple, that's a bad thing. I did not use as my highlight, by the way, Bobby Bozer, who also hit a grand slam. This one counted, though, as Florida destroyed Harvard over the weekend. But Bobby Bozer, transfer from USF, my goodness, for Florida fans, they already know who he is. All he does is basically smash the ball, hits home runs.
Is he the one you were talking about also steals, or was that someone else?
That was someone else. That's a Rays guy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who's still in the minors. But yeah, Florida plays Florida State tonight in baseball in Tallahassee, so huge matchup between those two squads. There are only 2 undefeated baseball programs in all of the country. One is Florida State. Florida plays them tonight. The other is Tennessee. Florida plays Tennessee this weekend. Wow. So some big-time baseball coming up. And for all of you Florida State baseball fans, March 25th, that's a Tuesday. That's the day of the game here in Jacksonville between the 2 in-state rivals.
They do play tonight, though.
That's what I said, in Tallahassee.
Exactly, right. They do play tonight. I know, like, as I heard you say tonight, but then I heard you say 25th, and I was like, wait a second. Just a reminder, it is tonight, and it is on 10 a.m.
Yes. Your coin story.
The coin story.
Oh.
Greg Sankey brought the coin to the SEC tournament last week, and I'm sure he has it at the men's tournament this week.
Well, because you missed it, it was one of my Terminix Pest of the Days last week because the South Carolina women's basketball game was decided, the seeding was decided by a coin flip because it was Auburn.
It was between Texas and South Carolina.
and South Carolina. They were tied at the end, and they flipped a coin to decide who got the 1 seed.
That's insane.
That was the third criteria. That is in
The
SEC,
third order.
Like
Right.
whether
I'm
it's
surprised Greg
basketball,
Sankey allows
women's
that.
basketball, men's basketball. Oh no, we're gonna get to him in a second. Men's basketball, women's basketball. I think even like football. I mean, not that there's seeding in football because there's no SEC tournament, but the third criteria in the SEC is you flip a coin. As opposed to going at strength of schedule, common opponents.
Yeah.
It is you flip a coin. And Sankey had a live stream camera ready to go in his office in Hoover.
Yeah.
He had a personally made coin that had South Carolina on one side and Texas on the other. And live on ESPN, post for South Carolina's final regular season game, flips the coin. And then he brought the coin last week as a novelty.
Because it goes record head-to-head coin.
Flip the coin. Well, they need to fix that for sure. All right, I will give you our Terminex Pest of the Day. On the other side, you are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM, live from the Players' Championship.
One of the few places drinking and driving isn't against the law.
Good-looking shot here.
Get live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates
From Corona Premier, Campione Law, and Kuhn Flowers.
on 1010XL.
Jags fans, here's your chance to score a trip to Green Bay for round 1 of Draft Night. Through the Everbank Draft Night Experience Sweepstakes, one lucky winner and a guest will be there live and in person to see the Jaguars make their first pick. To enter, visit everbank.com/draft by April 4th. That's everbank.com/draft. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry period from 3/3/25 to 4/4/25. For official rules, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/draft. Sponsored and administrator, Everbank N.A.
It's that time again. The Ready, Set, Go sales event is back and going on now at Arlington Toyota. Mia here. Now's the time to make the most of Ready, Set, Go savings because the Arlington Toyota lot is jam-packed with inventory. Over 800 vehicles to choose from. What kind of savings? I'm glad you asked. Just announced 0% on select new Toyota models has been extended. 0%. And that means now's the time to save on the new Toyota you really want. And come on, admit it. You know you'd look good in a new truck. So get ready, set, and go. Get yours today with financing as low as 1.99% on select new Toyota trucks. Arlington has over 80 Tacomas and over 75 Tundras available. Plus, you get Arlington's lifetime warranty and 60-day exchange with your purchase. Don't wait. Let's go and shop the Ready, Set, Go sales event at Arlington Toyota now through March 31st. In person on Atlantic Boulevard, just a quarter mile east of 295 or at arlingtontoyota.com.
Don't miss the Players' Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminex. Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminex them. At Terminex, they know how to stop termites just like they did at my house. These destructive pests may have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so does Terminex, and their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem. I definitely did not want to. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers, floral, or plant arrangement. This is Max Fink with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at KuhnFlowers.com.
Catch Gators baseball all season long on 1010XL. Pitched by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. And Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Florida Gators.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at almost $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar or trade it in for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
1010XL celebrates high scorers.
1010XL and Southeast Orthopedic Specialists celebrate scholar athletes.
In class and on the court.
Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipefitters Local Union 234. Wednesdays on The Frangie Show.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyouBlow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
Hacker here, and as most of you know, I'm now in Awaken 180's free maintenance support for life. 122 pounds gone, and that number on the scale hasn't crept up a pound. I didn't just choose Awaken 180 because of the weight loss. I chose Awaken 180 to keep the weight off. I wasn't going to put in the work, the highs, the achievements, just to watch it slip away after the program stopped. I wanted a solution, and boy, I sure found it. Awaken 180 is life-changing and life-altering. Over 120 pounds down in just 10 months. Now I'm in the maintenance program. I still get the coaching that I need. I still get the motivation that got me 120 pounds down, and I'm not gaining it back. If it's time for you to lose the weight like it was for me, go to awaken180weightloss.com. That's awaken180weightloss.com. If I can do it, you can do it. Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
Hi, this is Dave Barker. Want to grow your hair back?
IHRS right here in Jacksonville is the only hair transplant clinic in the country that offers multi-unit hair grafting, FUE NeoGraft hair transplants, and the 45-minute effective PRP treatments.
Multi-unit hair grafting gave me more hair in one procedure and within my budget.
Thank you, IHRS.
IHRS showed me what was causing my hair loss and helped stop it.
Schedule a free evaluation and find out how to grow your hair back and keep the hair you have. Call 904-777-IHRS. Take the first step to restoring your hair today. Visit hairforme.com.
Now my hair will grow for the rest of my life. Thanks, IHRS.
IHRS has been restoring hair for men and women for over 30 years.
Call now for a free in-person or virtual evaluation. 904-777-IHRS. That's 904-777-4477. Or visit hair4me.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
I think me and you should blow this off. So much for the after.
So Jordan Davis tonight, the military appreciation festivities will begin around 4:30, and then the concert immediately following. Jordan Davis is an LSU fan, and I mention that because I'm about to talk about the Southeastern Conference. It is time for our Terminex Pest of the Day, and the SEC announced yesterday that Bruce Pearl won the SEC Coach of the Year.
Here we go.
Bruce Pearl's squad finished second in the SEC last season, so they finished first this year. Okay, so they were already really, really good. They
Again, kind of like the free throw rule. I hate this first place. You have to therefore give the head coach the ruling.
They finished just one spot ahead of projections. This is Auburn. And moved up just 2 spots in the KenPom rankings. It was their third 27-plus win season in the past 4 years. A.K.A. Bruce Pearl has had a really good team, has had a good program, and that's all well and good. But Florida, on the other side, went from finishing 5th in the SEC a year ago to 2nd this season, won 3 more conference games as well, 3 more games overall. They finished 4 spots ahead of where they're projected in the preseason SEC media voting and saw a 22-spot jump in the KenPom rankings, which coach, who also, by the way, had to deal with some injuries. And yes, Janai Broom was injured a little bit, but it didn't look as bad, or it wasn't as long, I feel like, as Kondo was out. Todd Golden had to completely revamp this basketball team, and what he was able to do between last year and this year, to me, shows he should have won SEC Coach of the Year.
This is so. I think to Mia's point a second ago. Yeah, and I think to Mia's point a second ago, a lot of times they do automatically say you won the conference, so you're the best coach. But I don't think that is the case all of the time. But I don't know enough about this squad. One thing I do know about the Gators and Todd Golden is not only the jumps we're talking about, but the things they've had to deal with in season when it comes to injuries to some of their star players and being able to get over all of that. We know the schedule they've had to play. Now for Auburn, I don't know. Have they battled through injuries? Have they had any? Okay, so
no. Janai Broom was out for like a week and a half.
Yeah. So to me, then it makes no sense.
Yeah. Terminix, if you have pest issues at your home, if you certainly have termites, you want to contact Terminix, TERMINIX.com. They will do everything for you like they did for us. Look, I understand that Bruce Pearl and Janai Broom won SEC Player of the Year. I expected that. They had a great season. Obviously, they won the regular season in the SEC, and at the same time, Florida beat Auburn at Auburn. So you should then say, well, the best coach of the year should go to Todd Golden.
I hope you're ready, Lauren, because there's certainly a campaign out there for Bruce Pearl to also win National Coach of the Year.
And you know
solely because he coaches the best team in the country, even if it's not currently rated number one and doesn't have the best record. Technically, Duke does.
Right.
There's no one talking about John Shire winning National Coach of the Year.
No,
probably
because the ACC
is a three-bid
down.
league. It's a three-bid league.
Absolutely.
Same reason yesterday when I noted about with my AP ballot how Louisville fans came for me. Guess what, Louisville? You play in a three-bid league. Vanderbilt is playing in a potential 13-bid league, and they're Vandy. No offense. I know you've been through a lot. Point being, it's fascinating to me, as Taylor alluded to, that regardless of sport, this idea of, well, you have the best team, so therefore you are the best coach. Yeah, no, duh. But how about a coach who's overcome X, Y, and Z? How about a coach? I'll give Pat Kelsey at Louisville his flowers. Louisville won more games this year than the last 2 years combined. That, for me, says that's a guy, and he won ACC Coach of the Year. He should be in the conversation for National Coach of the Year ahead of Bruce Pearl. And I love Bruce. I think Bruce is a great coach. But ultimately, I'm sure if you asked Bruce, he'd rather win the national title, and he's more focused on being the number one overall seed than he is winning Coach of the Year.
And that's the bottom line is Florida wants a 1 seed, deserves a 1 seed, and we'll see what happens in the SEC tournament. Like I said yesterday, Florida plays Friday night, but it begins tomorrow night in earnest. I do have an update as far as the players of the first and second team for the SEC or All SEC honors. Walter Clayton Jr., All SEC first team. Alex Condon, All SEC second team. The sixth man of the year, I think, is also going to be a fascinating thing as far as there's so many different guys that could win that too. Even on Florida's own team, there are different guys that could jockey for that. But look, the improvement to me that Golden made over a season is bigger than the improvement that Bruce Pearl made. But what's fascinating is one is the mentor and one is the mentee. Literally, and those are the two guys that I think were neck and neck, not just in the SEC, but in the country, too.
I think it's interesting when we're talking, if you relate that to other sports, because I do think the NFL does a better job in that category because we're not talking about, if we were talking about just the best team, then we'd be usually talking about Andy Reid every single year winning head coach, and he coach of the year. He won in 2018, but this last year we saw KOC do it. And you know why? Because he brought in Sam Darnold, and he made Sam Darnold this new human pretty much in the football world. Last year it was Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell came in and just had revitalized this Lions team. The year before is Brian Dable. That looks a little crazy right now, but the Giants had a good year, and it was when people were saying you need to throw away Daniel Jones, and they were able to actually play decent. The year before is Mike Vrabel. We're talking about some of these coaches who are not on the same team anymore, but what they did in that specific year is they went above and beyond of what they were expected to do, and to that point, I think that's what Florida has done.
And so, of course, the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures
agrees with me.
No, we're looking at this through. This is my favorite. I love when you Heeligans accuse me of looking through anything with a Gator orange and blue lens. I am not looking at this through that lens. If anything,
I definitely am not.
I just said, I hate when this happens in football. Like Taylor just went through the Coach of the Year in the National Football League. I hate when it happens in the NBA. Like, go on down the line. I just don't like this idea of just because you coach the best team in the country, therefore, or the best team in the league, therefore you deserve more than someone who has taken a team from 0 to not atop the mountain, but obviously in that upper echelon. And so, 505 points out, rightfully so, and I'm sure this is a War Eagle alum out here. Auburn has 16 quad 1 wins. That's 9 more than whoever. You are correct in saying that, and it is an astounding number. A lot of it has to deal with the conference they play in, which could go down as historically the best men's college basketball conference of all time. But again, I think Bruce is a great coach. I think Auburn's a great team. But I look at where Florida was 5 years ago. I look at where Auburn was 5 years ago at the Final Four 6 years ago. I digress. 2020 didn't happen. And I say that, to me, deserves more praise for the turnaround than simply just winning, simply winning and continuing that consistency, which is hard to do. But for me, it's about the idea of how much have you bridged the gap, or how much have you closed the gap. And so it's the National Coach of the Year conversation. I'm not going to reveal who I voted for as an AP voter, but hello, there's one name we haven't mentioned yet, a guy by the name of Rick Pitino, who literally is taking a team that had not been to the NCAA tournament in almost 15 years, that had not won a Big East outright tournament since 1980-something, and we're going to give it to the guy who went to the Final Four 6 years ago?
Who also has, undeniably one of the best players in all of college basketball, Bruce Pearl, having Janai Broome. So that's the other thing to me. Golden was able to find guys that were under-recruited out of high school and identify the talent and then have them all play super well together. By the way, the SEC Sixth Man of the Year went to Missouri's Caleb Grill.
Yeah.
I'll take Thomas Houck over Caleb Grill.
But you know what? I will give, in 536, just brought up Dennis Gates at Mizzou, and I agree. I probably, if I had a vote for SEC, for SEC Coach of the Year, as much as, yes, I would have given Todd Golden consideration, I probably would have voted for Dennis Gates because they didn't win a single conference game last year, and now they've been a pretty much universally viewed as an AP top 25 team or a top 15 team, depending on which metrics you're looking at. So yes, again, but that only enhances the argument that we're making, which is look at where that team was a year ago and where they are now. And look, staying great, I think we all take it for granted, but at the same time, doing the unthinkable that has taken place in Queens, the unthinkable that has taken place in Columbia, Missouri, those turnarounds for me, and Gainesville's included in that rings more true for this award season than it does just staying among the best in the sport.
We will circle back to the NFL in our final segment, live here at the Players' Championship in the Palm Valley Village. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Where electrifying moments come to life.
Inside of a minute to play.
And legendary performances live.
A monumental milestone in a legendary career.
1010XL. The power of Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Florida homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contractors protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Spend $6,000 and get up to $600 off. $15,000 up to $2,000 off. $20,000 up to $3,000 off. This deal ends March 31st. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Ahead, we build platforms for digital business. We help create your platform for digital business by weaving together advances in cloud infrastructure, intelligent operations, and modern applications. Digital business is comprised of 5 pillars. We call them imperatives because they're a must-have, not a nice-to-have. We enterprise cloud, integrated security, scaled DevOps, intelligent operations, and relentless automation. Need help with digital transformation? Ahead. Learn, grow, achieve.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional, non-commissioned sales team puts your best interests first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them online at hodgesmazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
How much does a cloud weigh? The answer coming right up.
It's always a good idea to compare homeowners' insurance rates instead of renewing year in and year out. Log on to southernoak.com and get an instant quote in minutes.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
According to the National Geological Society, a normal cumulus cloud can weigh up to 1 million pounds, or about 500 tons.
Southern Oak Insurance, our family protecting yours.
Keep the offseason rolling with AA Automotive and 1010XL, which free agents could look good in a teal jersey.
That's a beautiful thing.
Free agency profiles are covered by Universal Roof and Contracting. Experience the universal difference.
Prosser here. No matter what you do, man, you love consistency. And when it comes to selling your home for Chad and Sandy, good times are bad. They're there to help you, and you're going to get the most that you can. The economy actually showing positive signs. Now may be the time to sell your home at the price you want, and it's easy to find out. Get friendly expert help from the Jacksonville agents who are there for you. My agents, Chad and Sandy Newman. Maybe you need more space with a growing family or working from home. Whatever your reasons, Chad and Sandy come through for you as the local real estate experts I trust and recommend. Chad and Sandy, in fact, will guarantee you this. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. John and Ursula in Green Meadows said, I was not in great health, so we decided to downsize to an easier place to manage. First, we needed to sell our Green Meadows home fast. Unfortunately, after 185 days, our home failed to sell. With another realtor, we made the switch, though, to Chad and Sandy. Sold it in 12 days. You can, too. Go to chadandsandy.com or call 414-6200.
Do you know someone looking for a fun and rewarding summer job? Join the YMCA team, gain valuable experience, and make a difference in kids' lives. Turn your passion for this community into a fulfilling career at the First Coast YMCA. Now hiring camp counselors, lifeguards, child care leaders, and membership experience team. Every single person on the dedicated YMCA staff plays a role in making the Y a welcoming and vital resource for our community. Find your career at the Y at fcymca.org.
Equal opportunity employer.
Okay, sports fans, Hicken here. Let's talk skin. I and Beaches Dermatology are reminding you all to wear your sunscreen. Spring is here, and that means more time outside. Grabbing the clubs for your tea time? Bring the screen. Heading out on the boat? Bring the screen. Headed to the beach? Definitely bring the sunscreen. All in all, make sure sunscreen is included in your outdoor activities. If you have any concerns now, give Beaches Dermatology a call. I've been seeing them for years, and my skin thanks me for it. Call today online at beachesdermatology.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing. Keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
This is the beauty of NFL free agency, the legal negotiating window. Over 100 of you strong joining us on the YouTube live stream, even more listening to us on X Twitter, which I believe still exists as of this writing. Hopefully that remains the case. And of course, Facebook too. And so many of you finding 1010XL on YouTube as Jaguar fans, as NFL fans, and we appreciate you hopping in the YouTube chat in particular, where many of you say, what the heck, I thought you guys were going to talk Jaguars. We are going to recap by talking Jaguars here in this final segment. And our thanks again to Mike Giardi of the Boston Sports Journal for joining us. He echoed what I led the program by saying. The moves that James Gladstone and the Jacksonville Jaguars made yesterday are a sign of what free agency has become across the league. I feel even better saying that because Dave Campo, the former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, is sitting next to me and he's nodding his head. So I feel even better in saying that. The idea of splash signings and finding blue chip top 5 at their position players in free agency, it is few and far between. Saquon Barkley, to go back to my conversation with Mike Dempsey when we took the handoff from Jags today here at TPC Sawgrass, going back to that conversation, Saquon Barkley does not get made available in free agency every cycle. And so the moves that were made yesterday were made to fortify the roster and additionally to give yourself the opportunity to draft the best player available in the NFL draft. To say, hey, we don't have a gaping hole at this position. It gives you leverage. It ensures that you're not showing your hand to the other 31 teams. And in turn, you can even make a strength an even greater strength as opposed to feeling like you just simply have to have someone at a certain position because you have no one else on the roster to fit that hole.
They signed what I'll say is between 4 and 5 guys that I think as of now would be considered starters on this roster. That is a huge step forward. Obviously, these are not big names. These are not the highest paid guys at their position. But this roster was going to be overhauled between Trent Baalke leaving and James Gladstone entering the chat, along with Tony Baselli and Liam Cohen, of course, as well. So they needed guys that they wanted to replace what they didn't feel like were guys that fit, whether it's their scheme, like an Evan Ingram. They wanted guys that are more physical. They wanted guys that are faster. And so is the roster better as of now? I would say not yet, but we also have to get to the draft to get to that point in time. But the teams that spend the most in free agency are not usually the best teams. So that's why it's always a relax, everybody.
Well, Dempsey even said it to me because I looked at him and I said, did we get any awards here in Jacksonville for spending the most money in free agency a couple years back?
Yeah. But you also can't be scared to spend, and it
depends on what
the
they
players
feel
and that's
about,
what, I do think I do think there are some really good teams. You mentioned the Vikings being one of those, the Lions being one the last couple years that still spend heavily, but what they don't do is get 9-10 guys. They get 3-4 that are higher level guys and they spend.
But
so I do think that's about they also draft well.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. I think the Jags are obviously a different point, and that's been my whole point of the day is the Jags are pretty far off from where the Vikings and Lions are right now, as at least James Gladstone's looking at this roster, and I'm thinking similar because that's kind of what he's done. He's let go of guys who are better, the couple better players that have been on the Jags, honestly, the last couple seasons, and they weren't good enough to make it to stay on his roster. So he's looking at this and evaluating it from what he wants to build. And I've said this many times of we're going to go through some uncomfortable decisions, and maybe some guys are going to leave that you don't absolutely love. They're going to bring some guys in that maybe you're not super familiar with, but you just have to trust. And James Gladstone, I was looking at this on Mike Clay from ESPN posted a chart, and he tracks this throughout the season, and it's the unit grades, the NFL unit grades for all of the teams throughout the NFL. And so he's updated this since these recent moves, these flurry of moves that have come around the league. And so just to show that it's pretty accurate, the top teams he has when it comes to the total rankings of everything, both offense and defense, are the top are the Ravens, the Lions, the Eagles, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bucks, the Rams. Those are the top 7 teams in the NFL when it comes to all of these positional rankings for them. The Jags are the 7th worst at this point, and they still, so what he does is they go through and they rank from a 1 to a 10 each position group throughout, and then they give a total grade at the end. But for the Jags, he still has the Jags offensive line at a 2. And so maybe some of these moves prove wrong. Maybe they still go offensive line early, or maybe in the second round, and that changes. We will see. We don't know. But he has the highest graded position groups at edge and linebacker for this, obviously with the Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen, and what they've been able to do at linebacker. It makes sense. But I still think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And that's what worried me is there were so many holes, and I feel like you still have the same amount of holes.
I think, too, they're building for the long-term sustained success.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't a 1 year, we fix everything and we win the Super Bowl. They understand that this was a 4-win team last year. Whether we thought it would be a better team or not, the reality was, and the results showed, that this team was really far off. And so to me, the moves that they made, adding those 3 different offensive linemen through free agency as far as the legal tampering window yesterday is concerned, is obviously they need to protect Trevor Lawrence. They have a Hall of Fame former offensive lineman in Tony Baselli, who is now evaluating the offensive lineman. That certainly makes me feel better about the guys that they're going after and the guys that they're going to draft as well. And to me, the moves say that they're not going to spend that 5th overall pick on an offensive lineman based off of the fact of they, I think, will go more, whether it's defensive lineman, because they haven't done anything with defensive line in free agency, whether that's another receiver, whether it's the tight end Tyler Warren. I think they're going to add another weapon or a defensive lineman. That, to me, what free agency has said, certainly we'll see. All right, let's check in with our coach, and really Primetime's coach too, but our coach as well, Coach Campo.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
I'm glad you got him on the headset early, Lauren. Because I was going to say, I know it's
I'm trying to beat up the microphone here.
I know it's the 2-minute drill, but we need more than 2 minutes with our head coach, Dave Campo, because we kind of claim him a little bit. He's XL Prime Times, but he is, as he loves to say, the utility infielder here at 1010XL. Good to see you, friend.
Well, thank you. Yeah, listen, I think we got some utility infielders in this free agency group,
And
too.
that's okay.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I think the one thing it showed to me, to be honest with you, is that they've made a decision that this roster doesn't
gonna cut it.
Yeah, you know, they're going to have to cut bait on some guys. Yeah. And like Lauren said just a minute ago, and you all are saying it, this is a 2-year deal, in my opinion. You bring in these guys, it upgrades a little bit for who you have as backup guys. With Morse retiring and Scherf retiring, you upgrade a little bit because you don't feel like your backups can step in there right now. That keeps you from having to take whoever is, you know, who you think you need. You take who's there in the draft, and I think that's the combination they're looking for.
Do you think Jarian Jones can play outside corner?
You know, I think he's had experience there, so
Right.
I think he gives them an opportunity. And I think, you know, there's no question that taking Lewis from the Cowboys, he's going to start at nickel.
Okay.
And to me, that, you know, that kind of puts Jarian, and I believe Jarian's got the type of, you know, the background and the
4.38 speed. I know
speed.
We talked about the 5.10 frame, but that
Yeah.
speed, I mean, you always say it, Coach.
Absolutely.
If you can keep up on the outside, and he comes from a system that, for all of Mike Norvell's flaws over the last 365 days plus that people want to point at,
the defensive backs were not one.
The defensive backs have never been one, and there is no university. I mean, sure, if you want to put LSU up against it, whatever. I don't think there's a university going right now that has put more press man corners into the National Football League than Florida State over the last 10 years.
I think Jarian has those intangibles that he's looking for, too. And I believe the guys that he brought in, you know, looking at a 2-year deal here, those guys, there's a number of those, even the offensive linemen, that are on the come. In other words, they played some, and if they look at them and say, hey, look, we can develop these guys. We don't know what the guy from Baltimore. I know he's a tough guy, or else he wouldn't have been at Baltimore.
That's right.
That's how they operate.
I'll also throw this little fact at you guys. Who was the assistant offensive line coach in Baltimore when Patrick McCarry first signed as an undrafted free agent rookie? Richard Angulo, tight ends coach
There you go.
here in Jacksonville.
Well, everybody they've taken, including the coaching staff, has been people that they trust, that connect. And to me, that's the biggest thing. And I knew that he was going to do that. He was going to do that in the coaching, for sure, because he hadn't been in the league that long. It's hard to get guys, you know, from other clubs when they're under contract. You can't do it. So I knew he was going to go with guys from trees that, not just because of the trees, but they're from head coaches or general managers that he trusts. And he did it with his general manager. So
Right. That's how you know if they're intangibly rich.
Absolutely.
Because you know more about them than you would know about the average player.
Absolutely.
Coach, when we're talking about this secondary, we've had a lot of conversations of how much more work does it need. And now this Jordan Lewis move does look like he'll play nickel. Jarian will move on the outside. They added a safety. There's a lot of questions about that signing from people that we've seen. But when we talk about how much last year it was scheme and just people being in the wrong places and coaching compared to the actual talent, what are your feelings on that?
I think that's a big part of it, to be perfectly honest with you. I think we have a couple guys at safety that can play.
Okay. Well,
I
Cisco
really
gone
do.
now, too, so no Cisco.
To me, I think Savage didn't have an opportunity to do what he can do. I think he's a good player. Not a great player, but a good player. And I think the problem is, I don't think Gladstone or Liam Cohen really value the safety position to pay a lot of money for. That, to me, is the key. And when you look around, that's always been the case in the league. And so, for me, I think that, you know, Antonio Johnson, I liked him. Maybe he comes on this year, you know. And so I think it's one of those things where the safety position, they may take one, but I don't think it's going to be anybody other than Murray.
Yeah.
And Murray has proven that he can play. It's just how good is he?
Yeah.
That's going to be the bottom line.
It's also why you need coaches like you, Coach Campo, who had their ear to the pavement once upon a time in Texas, trying to find, what was it, a 12th round defensive back once upon a time?
Absolutely.
Who became a starter in the National Football League.
Not only that, he was MVP of Super Bowl 30.
But I think that speaks to, and it's a point
That's good talent evaluation.
Right, and it's a point that we've made multiple times, and I've gone up and down the Rams depth chart, and I've said it on the air, and I wrote it on the 1010XL Roundtable Draft Guide last week. When you look at that Rams depth chart right now, and I understand the Vikings have spent a little more handsomely in their secondary, and that's all fine and good, but the Rams, where Liam Cohen and James Gladstone are coming from, the highest drafted player was Cam Kitchens out of Miami, and he was the 100th overall pick last year.
Right. And I think, really it comes down to, and Lauren just said it a minute ago, I think they take a defensive lineman with the first pick.
You do.
Because to me, that's what makes the secondary better.
Correct.
Is how good you are up front. That's the bottom line.
Get
Now,
pressure.
the other thing that the secondary has got to be smart. You got to be able to change. You can't just play one thing back there. So the combination of the pass rush and some guys that can do a couple different things and have a guy be in the support unit at times, having a nickel back that can support the run, all those things are pluses. And so to me, I think they've got a plan. I'm optimistic. I think the young coaches and some new eyes are going to give us a little bit of a facelift.
Definitely new eyes and new pitchers in New York because no Garrett Cole for this year. But we ran out of time. Yes, I'm so sorry.
You hurt me on the very last thing you said. You hurt me.
Well, we do want to plug that your teammate, someone who was a part of your coaching staff, Mike Zimmer, is going to join XL Primetime.
He is, and he's got, he was there with Munt in
Lewis.
Minnesota as well, and Lewis with the Cowboys. So I think he'll give us some insight into what those young men are like.
All right, sounds good. Well, that means we have to turn over the keys of the kingdom to XL Primetime. Thank you so much, Coach.
You're welcome, guys.
We will be listening. All right, that'll do it for us today live here at the Palm Valley Village at the Players Championship. Lots more golf coming your way this week. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders back at 1010XL headquarters, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow live here at the Players, but don't go anywhere. Primetime is next.
Yeah.